And now let's turn our focus to Africa. Burkina Faso in West Africa has erupted in clashes. This is a fight between the armed forces and militants. At least 53 troops have died. 17 were soldiers, 36 were volunteer fighters. They died in the northern part of the country, near the border with Mali. The army of Burkina Faso says it is conducting an operation there. It began on Monday, that operation. That's when the clashes also began. And now 53 troops are dead. It's not clear how many militants have died. This latest bloodbath is part of a bid to reconquer territory. You see, the northern part of Burkina Faso is not in the government's control. It has seen years of Islamic militancy. It is part of the so-called three borders, an area between Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, hence three borders. For about 7 years, this entire area has been under attack. Terrorists have taken a hold of the region. These are groups affiliated with the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. In this region, the Islamic State or ISIS is called the Islamic State of the Greater Sahel, ISGS, Islamic State of Greater Sahel. Now, for years, the ISGS and other groups have been trying to carve out territory for themselves here, leaving thousands of people dead in their wake. Since 2015, more than 16,000 people have been killed in Burkina Faso alone. 16,000 people. This includes civilians, soldiers and the police. The terrorists also control about 40% of the country's territory. Obviously, this has fueled anger. It has resulted in coups. In fact, all these three countries, Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger, have seen a coup recently. The coup in Niger is the latest one. It took place in late July. Mali has seen 2 coups in the last 3 years, one in 2020 and the second one in 2021. And Burkina Faso saw 2 coups just last year, one in January and the second one in late September. And all the military leaders taking charge have said the same thing.
Le mercredi 26 juillet 2023,
on Wednesday, July 26th, security forces gathered to put an end to the regime of the Seventh Republic. Our action is motivated by the sole desire to preserve our beloved homeland in the face of the continuous deterioration of the security situation of our country.
Nos objectifs ne sont autres que de donner.
Our objectives are none other than to breathe new life into all our compatriots afflicted by this conflict. It is also to envisage indigenous development relying only on ourselves.
They say they took over to provide better security to their people. The military needed to be in charge to end the militancy. But has that really worked? We mentioned that 16,000 people have been killed in Burkina Faso since 2015. 5,000 were killed this year alone after the 2 coups. These latest clashes have seen the most casualties in months, but that does not mean smaller attacks have not taken place. Look at this, 60 people killed in late April, allegedly by men in military uniforms. Burkina Faso insisted that these were militants. Also in April, over 40 people died in a terror attack. 44 were killed earlier that month in another attack. March saw at least 2 major attacks, 14 people killed in one, at least 12 in the other. And in late February, an attack saw 51 soldiers from Burkina Faso killed. Now, this does not necessarily mean that Burkina Faso's new junta is incompetent. They have taken a hard line on insurgency. They're attacking areas under enemy control, and that's one of the reasons why there's been an uptick in casualties. But another reason is the instability brought by the coups. In Burkina Faso and Mali, studies show that militancy got a boost recently. The junta rule is directly to blame for this. Think about it. The days of uncertainty after a coup takes place. Tensions with neighboring countries following a coup, international sanctions, border closures, the threat of intervention. All these things are a boon for terror groups. The chaos allows them to expand their influence, and this has led to their proliferation in the Sahel region. When the military junta took over Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger, they promised to end militancy, to improve the security situation. So far, the opposite has happened. You can choose to see this as turbulence, the chaos that's part of a transition period. But the promise was an end to the violence, and so far, the juntas have failed to deliver.